Check, check, 1 2 1 2, check, check, check. Are we still live? It crashed. Whoops. Hello, check, check, check. Anyone still there? Anyone still there? I think we're back. I don't know, my system seemed to have crashed. Tell me if we're still there, everyone. It is back. It seems to be back. Yeah. So, okay, well, it did go about 2.5 hours before it crashed. Yeah, sorry about that. My system, I don't know, my internet's been weird over the past 2 months. The system's been crashing unexpectedly, but okay, I guess it's back. Thanks everyone for coming back. So let me just do one little bit of house cleaning just on my stream settings here. Let me reactivate this thing one moment. And we'll be back online. I was about to show photos. YouTube said, no, we can't have that. We'll shut you down. So just one moment. I think this is just about back on. Yeah, okay. I think we're back. So, okay, we're back, everyone. So, let me show you here. Mark, the last thing you said was, it's funny how old stuff sometimes works better. Yeah, with these cameras, I'm very surprised because this is from the 50s and it works. I have a couple of others over there since the 60s. Those still work. And then, you know, what does your cell phone still work from 4 years ago? So sometimes the old stuff can work very well still. So here's a few photos that I shot with each of these cameras. So this is relatively recent. I bought this about 12 years ago, and then I inherited this about 10 years ago, I guess. So, and I had them tucked away, and then I got the bug for photography again, so I started to shoot again. So here's a few. Here's some from the Kodak Brownie. I'll show it right here. So we'll show it right here. I can't quite make it bigger than that at the moment, but I can zoom in. Now, this is obviously just the very first photo on the roll, and you have this just a weird camera anomaly right here. I bet if you up the contrast, you'll see like the spirits and stuff, so that's cool. But okay, we have that. And right here, this is underexposed. I'm trying to take a photo of myself in the mirror, and on the left is the window. Okay, but if I were to shoot it outside, you see the colors. Would have been nice and bright. This type of film also, I was telling you, Mark, earlier, and for everyone else that joined, this is the, thanks for coming back, Gabe. Yeah, sorry about the crash. So this type of film is red scale film. Basically, it tints everything reddish and orangish and kind of monochromatic and interesting. And so the square size right here, here's a good one. So this is the square negative right here. It's huge compared to a 35 millimeter. This is like 4 times the size of a 35 millimeter photo that works on the Brownie and the Holga. And so everything is tinted reddish and orange and such. And it's the aesthetic of this imperfect style of photography. I love seeing the edges of film. That doesn't exist very much in digital photography. And so it's mostly oranges, and yes, it can be touched up in Photoshop, and I know Photoshop and such, but you can see some of the original colors there. And this is just looking out my window over there to the mountains and hills and such. Then I went out over to the park nearby, and yeah, it's not the perfect pristine colors that you get out of modern digital photography, but I like the aesthetic of the analog of it all, of the imperfections. And this is you know, ancient Instagram was invented to try to get this aesthetic where all of our pictures were perfect. Well, on Instagram, put a cool filter on it and simulate green and simulate you know, film damage and such. this is original analog film, and I think the scanner introduced some imperfections here and there, but there's an old water pump in town not far, and it's from the 1880s. Yeah, they don't build them like that anymore. So here's the path. This is taking several steps from where I was on my last shot towards one of the trails. And so sort of a weird oranges, yellows, greenish, alien planet colors of things. That's looking out towards the west. The ocean's over there. And even if you just crop it like this to not show a lot of the, civilization, even if you crop it something like that, you get a little bit of this rural trail there. Looking to the right, here's down on the floor, so you get the beautiful, the things very close by are out of focus, and then the part of the focus where it's in focus and then out of focus. So there's no way to adjust the shutter speed, there's no way to adjust the f-stop, there's no way to adjust anything. It's just point it, shoot it, you take the photo. Plus it's got a very slow shutter speed, so you're supposed to hold it very, very steady. And then you get these results that are very interesting. Again, if I was using normal film, then it would have all been normal colors and such, but the specific type of film here is this style. Even on the back it says, red scale technology offers a very high exposure range. Different exposure settings produce different results. You can get super intense reds and oranges. You can mix in different blues and greens and such, depending on how you take the photo. Out of the same negative, you can get these various sorts of colors out of it. And so with a simple kind of camera like this, there are all kinds of these sort of yellowishes, redishes. Like right, this is the surface of Mars. If I cropped it like this, yeah, that's a photo coming from the Mars rover right there. And I love the aesthetic of having the edges of the film where it shows the name of the film on the side there. That's a filter for the various apps that you put artificially. Well, that's from the actual negative. So let me pull out my hipster cred. I was on Instagram week 1 when it debuted, so I've been on Instagram since the beginning, and I've seen it evolve. And this was the style. I remember showing my dad my very first Instagram photos, and he said, "Why do the photos look so ugly?" I think he said ugly, but that's just because he didn't have the language to say like, why are they all filtered weird and etc. Because he was used to perfect images on digital imagery. And I said, "No, Dad, that's the style. You want to get them weird and ugly and such, like the old days." Is this volcanic soil? That's a good question. I don't think so. So I'm in like the very bottom left corner of Southern California, the very bottom left corner of the US. And to my knowledge, we don't have any volcanoes. Teeks, we're all in California, right? We don't have volcanoes here, right? Or Gabe, we don't really have volcanoes, but do we have volcanic soil here? We might. We've got the San Andreas Fault, which is a big old crack in the earth that one day will swallow up half the state, but it might be. Some of this soil is hard. In some areas it is hard soil and some is soft. But that definitely looks Mars-ish. And then again here, this obviously, if it was shot on regular film, it would have had nice lush green tones and everything. Everything's red. Very caustic colors. But I like that style for this shoot. And, just kind of playing with the camera. Not an amazingly aesthetic photo, but here's the parking lot. This one's the one that does get, there are volcanoes. Okay. Hopefully not anywhere I live around here, but we have a whole variety of, or maybe you might have, the fault may have pushed some up. That makes sense. So from the same Mount Shasta. Oh yeah, that's right. Mount Shasta, the whole Rocky Mountains, right? So that's from that same negative, depending on how you where you aim it and shoot it and such. Some of them may be very rare, very red, and then some of them may be almost like just a very desaturated sort of style of color, and from that same negative, without any extra details in processing. Northern Morbid. The internet says it's in Cali about seven. Seven. We got 7 volcanoes here. Okay, well, hopefully, because I know Mount Rainier and all of that up in Washington, they had the big old volcanic eruption in the 80s or 70s. Um, so just a parking lot, and then Trait Artistique right here, where I'm just photographing the uh, floor. Now you can see here the focal length. There's no way to adjust focus either. It's like that's the focus. So I was too close to that. That didn't get into focus. But further over here, that got in focus. So if you do some math, you'll figure out what is the optimal focal length for this old classic thing. So all of those photos there, I shot them on the on this Brownie, and I put in some other black and white film the other day, and went around and shot a few shots, and I took them into the shop yesterday, 2 days ago. So those will be done in a little while, and I'll show all of those to you if you'd like. But yeah, these are photos shot with a camera from 1956 with modern film and square format, very large. If you zoom in compared to a negative, you see just a lot of detail. And if I rescan these with different settings, I could pull more detail and such. These are just the raw photos that I needed to see. So those are a few of those. Out of the other camera, the Holga, let me show you some of these. These are very interesting as well. So it's got 12 shots, but these types of cameras, you have to manually crank them. Not even this one from the 50s. This one from the current millennium. This one you still have to crank it. You take it and you crank it. You look on the back to tell you the number, and then you manually crank it. So depending how you crank it, each one click. Let's say it takes 20 clicks to go one frame. If you do 19 clicks, then the photos are slightly closer together. There's still going to be an edge, but then you can maybe eke out one final photo, depending how liberal or conservative you crank the crank out of these types of cameras. So this is the very first photo on the roll, and the edge right there is overexposed and such, but I think even that looks great. So that's me looking out my patio there. I live in a condo looking out towards the west over there. And these weird light spots, and the edge of the photo is just, that's the edge of the photo, that's the edge of the world. So I just love that style. And even in the you can even see some detail within the wood there, wood grain, if you look. And if I take it into Photoshop and bring up the colors, you'll pull more detail out. I'm not sure why this one got so underexposed, probably because of these weird light leaks here. And I don't even know what are these patterns coming out of the film. So these were shot on this camera here. Take the photo, advance it. I have no idea how these light patterns came out, and it just kind of underexposed everything, and it looks like the world is inside of a beer can. So it's the same shot of looking out my my window from the other camera. It must be some sort of spirits coming to talk to us, tell us their wisdom. I'm trying to take a photo of my cat right here. There's the cat. And then there's the window back there. Just these amazing red tones. Again, in Photoshop, I can kind of brighten things up. You're not going to get actual details and expression, but there's a cat looking out the window. Okay, here we go. So nothing special that I'm photographing, but I love this photo. You have the blur, the motion lines. I was in a car at that moment. You get the motion lines of the floor. You get a little bit of a curvature to it. You get the vignetting in the four corners. The four corners are a little underexposed. You have the center part of it. Again, this is just coming out of an analog camera. This is no Photoshop. This is no filter. This is coming basically straight out of the camera. And this camera It's designed to be an imperfect camera. Everything's plastic. If you're not careful, the film will pop out. I have to tape the edges so that the film doesn't pop out. Uh, if you don't realize, if you look through the viewfinder right here and you're taking photos all day long and you left the lens cap on, you ruined all your photos. So I've done that a little bit. So when I go out with it, I have the lens cap on and I have a piece of tape on the viewfinder here so that when I look here, oops, tape. So take off the tape, take off the viewfinder. I mean, take off the cap, or else it'll gladly take a photo and you're looking through here, and this, where you're looking through here, is not connected to this. So you're not going to see anything if you're not careful. You're not going to take anything if you're not careful. And zooming in on this, you got these palm trees in the wind, and it's a sepia tone style of the photo. This just beautiful milky blur of the asphalt. And it's not taking anything interesting, but I think I'm very happy with this photo, it's just these fiery colors and blurs and vignette and these clouds. I love how these clouds are contrasting with the darkness. Okay, here's another shot. Not anything artistic, but I love this shot as well. This foreboding sky. We've got these edges of the vignette where the darkness of the negative, the power lines, a truck, the field, and it's sort of just a truck driving around, and these lines waving in the wind, these clouds, this fiery sky. There's some imperfections in the negative, or it's just the imperfections of the scanning, like something like that. That's probably from the scanner. Something that obvious I would not quite want it, and I can take that out in Photoshop. But some of these other things about these little speckles here and there, I would keep those, even though obviously if I was trying to do this as a very perfect imagery, you'd remove every single imperfection. But as sort of this artistic low quality, to you it looks mostly gray with your color blindness. Now, you said earlier that there's some parts that you cannot see in the image. Anything on this image, just out of curiosity? What is it that you don't, if there's anything that you don't quite see in here? So for you, you see it, everything is mostly grays. And so it's all monochromatic in tones of reds. Okay, here's just some house. This would be better if it was a little bit more level. And it can still be leveled in the software, but just a house. And when I was scanning these, I scanned this one just to test it out. I scanned it in a couple different ways. So here's just the raw scan with like absolutely no scanner software doing anything. So I take the photos, I develop them at George's camera, they give me the negatives, I have a scanner, I can scan them myself. They will obviously put them onto a CD if you want. But with such sort of artsy things, I would rather scan them myself. So here it is, just raw out of the scanner without anything. And then here was a sort of slightly different setting in the scanner, much higher contrast. And what I noticed here is this cloud disappears. There's a cloud right here in the center. See, there's a cloud right there. Probably if I tweak the settings, I could keep... I really like this harsh contrast, and I could probably play with it a bit to get harsher contrast, but still to keep this cloud for some reason. But just very like a big old sunburst back there. So contrasty. Now you don't see any details in the wood there, but this is a style, just super high contrast. Same thing here, so just a shot in front of some restaurants and the like. I really like these harsh highlights in the metal chairs. And there's a reflection of my car right there. I think that's my car. And on that one I also did it with no processing so I can play with it later, and then a high contrast processing or scanning, I mean. And then this brought in some weird red or some weird blue colors for some reason. And this is just about, yeah, that's the last shot in the roll. So for some reason, so as the cranking was going on, I think I overcranked or something, and so now there's that whole empty space there. Every edge of the black right here is based on cranking the negative. So if it takes 20 clicks to go through one negative, you do 19 or you do 21 or you do 18. You know, if it takes 20 clicks and you do 13 clicks, there's a photo that's going to overlap another photo. And for some reason over here, I did way too many clicks. And then so that's the edge. That's the exact absolute edge of the negative. It ends right there. So there's like there's a quarter of a photo right there that I don't know what I was thinking when I was doing the cranking on it. And it's not automated at all. So you have to look at the back here and it has a number. And before the number, it has like some dots to tell you, here comes the number. So then you keep cranking it. And then you get to the number, you take the photo, you crank it some more, and then you count down there, and then the next one. You can kind of cheat it if you, I was trying to get, instead of the number appearing in the center of the window, I had it appear right on the very edge of the window, so I can kind of try to fit in some final photos in there. So yeah, those were the photos that I wanted to show out of the Brownie camera from the 50s and this Holga camera from the new millennium. They both use 120 film. I have right here. Have the negatives right here. So the regular 35 millimeter negatives, of course, that's the negatives. You can't see anything, but those are, of course, just regular plain old 35 millimeter negatives. Whereas the 120 negatives from those two cameras are this big. So on that one there, there's 2 or 3 shots in there. So again, comparing 35 millimeter negative to a 120 negative, it's like 4 times larger, so much higher quality. It's also known as medium format film. So 35 millimeter is small format, 120 is medium format, and then you have 8 by 10 size negatives. So there are negatives that are like this big. That's large format negatives. Those are the types of cameras that are as big as your head and that you put the cloth over it to take the photo. Those kinds of film cameras still exist, of course. But this is what I've been getting into again, just real film. Trying to reconnect with the roots of photography and nice hobby, expensive hobby. And then this is the last thing we'll show. Then we'll do some gameplay. So I got this. This is 1960s Konica Auto S2. I think it's from 1965, and it's just a classic 35 millimeter camera. I need to get a better strap for it. And it's you take the photo at the top here, then you wind it. Take the photo. Wind it. It's got the rings at the top to set your settings. You got your f-stops and your apertures and all that cool stuff. This is another one of these where you can look through the viewfinder right here, but if you have the lens cap on, you took nothing. So you have to make sure you take off the lens cap, because I can see you all here, but you have to take it off there. So in this style of camera, this is a rangefinder camera. Um, the the view here and the lenses here, it's different. And so, yeah, it's just a classic Japanese camera from the 60s. And it's got that beautiful hand crank shutter. And on this one, you open up the back right here. Pops up there. You put the 35mm film in there. And then completely manual. That was too fast for y'all to see, but let me change the shutter speed over here. So look inside the camera. Oops, actually, yeah. So look inside the camera for a moment there. See that? It opened up there. Let's do it this way. Open up that f-stop. Oops. See that. So again, classic stuff, built to last. This is from 1965. It still works. I shot a couple of rolls and I sent it to the developers a few days ago, so I should get it within a week, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how the photos come out, but it's kind of heavy, and it's got the classic, just fancy style of rangefinder, and I look like I'm a classic vintage photographer right there. And it does smell moldy, unfortunately. Whoever had it for decades didn't quite take care of it, because when I got it, it was kind of dusty. I had to take a day or so to clean it and, rub it down with alcohol, disinfect it and everything, and it's still got a classic someone's basement smell. At least it's not the smell of, tobacco smoke, but it's got just this classic black and silver style that I will show off with it when I go to Comic-Con next time and take some photos and such, and just show off with my camera. Oops, lens cap back on. So I don't have any of those photos yet. They haven't come back from the lab yet. But... all right, so that was the photo corner. Close this here. There was a little bit of photo talk right there. So what about all of you? Any of you into photography, whether it's film or digital or just cool Instagram filters and the like? Do something right here. Actually, we need to close that pop-up and open this pop-up. Oh yeah, I'd never acknowledged what you said there, Mark. Sorry about that. I had the wrong window up. The bottom of the truck is black. Okay. So it was funny, but the filter filtered out your message for some reason. But no worries, I approved it. Okay. So Pyro Phoenix 6862 is the opponent. That'll be annoying. Okay, but in the meantime, let's release the Kraken. Let's bring out this big old scary kraken. And let's let them cast that invitation again. We have a scary ooze. Missing a land drop. Let's see. What do we want to do here? Draw a card, put the thing there. Let's let them cast that one more time, because then they also lose their counter. They have a really fancy ghost. It's saying, "Fight me." Missing another land drop. Okay. And I guess I should have brought out Jace at that point. Helma the host do not want.
I'm always a step ahead.
Alright, so now I will attack with a big ol' 6/7, which they'll probably block. Alright. If they equip, they need 5 mana to equip that helm. Did they have 5 mana? Nope, not 5 mana. They're missing land drops as well. They need to discard. That transforms now. All their creatures get a plus. That's nice. Alright, well. Let's keep upticking Jace. I've got 5 blockers.
How you play the hand you're dealt.
We have 1 less blocker. Let's draw some cards here. We have 7 tentacles. They have 5 mana now. They're going to duplicate their ooze. Putting it onto itself. Who cares? I have 6 mana. Okay, that's a really nice ooze right there that you used to have. Ta-da! And then...
Let's try this.
Now they can re-equip. Let's see if they realize that. So I did steal their creature, but I didn't steal their artifact, so they can re-equip it. Yeah, they'll re-equip it. Okay, that's fine. Alright, so I have 7 mana. I can do a Nezahal. Nah, let's not do that. Let's do that. Yeah. Got a big old scary 7/7. And then let's get a bunch of Jaces. You can make tokens.
I had no idea I could do that either.
I can make tokens. You're the token deck. You're the token deck,
and you really trust your eyes.
Whenever this attacks, put a +1 counter on each attacking creature with a +1. Okay, so yeah, that'll work. That's a 9/10. It's a very good combo with that reef. It just is an automatic make a bunch of slimes. So I definitely need to remove that removal spell. Whoops. And then just
Always
set up
ask.
for a bunch of card draw.
It's a matter of give and take. Let's think this through.
And they're done. Okay, well, I guess Jason's seafood salad did its thing again. Would you like a slice of Kraken? Or a little bit of Elder Dinosaur on the side? I have that card in real life, and it looks so beautiful. I have the foil version of it, so there's that one manta fish there that also just shines really, really nice. And in real life, that looks really cute. So shiny. So we'll play a little bit more, trying to get today's gold. Can't believe it, but I've spent all of today so far just doing the daily quests. It hasn't, haven't gotten them all yet. I hadn't logged in for a little while. I hadn't played in a little while, so I have all of these quests to complete. Ooh, we have the Locust God. See how well we can do there. So the way I play that deck is a bunch of card draw and a bunch of bounce spells. Let's see how they will play it. So I don't think this is a bug, but I noticed that Command Tower changes color in a weird way when people play it in some colors. Alright, so of course the person has a Goblin Electromancer in a deck like the Scarab God.
My prowess is unmatched by my peers.
So I happen to get Nadir Kraken
Meditate
again.
and prepare.
I think the sea gods are smiling upon me that I have little Kraken again. And I also got the Bolus's Clutches again. Okay, so they play the Electromancer. That'll reduce their spells. They have a Brainstorm. Oh, no, they have a Recon mission. Okay, that's fine.
I have just the trick for this.
Time to set sail.
I still have much to learn.
This will come in handy.
So the idea with the Locust God is you simply put it out there and then draw as many cards as you can. It looks like the opponent missed a couple land drops here or there. So, what you need is one of these fancy reliquary towers, because now you have to discard. Hopefully they discard that Goblin Electromancer. But let's see what they do. Maybe the Brainstorm. No, Brainstorm's too good with these Scarab God. It'll make so many little scarabs. Yes, they discarded the Electromancer. Perfect. Right, I'm missing a land drop. So they're gonna
Decisions,
probably
decisions.
1, 2, 3, 4. They have 5 mana. They drop their 6th mana. I don't think they will then be able to make a whole bunch, and they're gonna be flying anyway. So let's attack with everything. They have a single. They have a single mana, or some. Oh yeah, for their brainstorm. How about? How about we get rid of one of their treasures? So they should probably play their brainstorm. Oh, they didn't play the brainstorm. Interesting. They should have played the brainstorm. I guess they'll play it now. Because they didn't have to discard anything. They probably should have played their brainstorm on my turn. They would have drawn and not had to discard. Did they draw into a land? Yes. Okay. So they have 5 lands in total.